Hello there, YouTubers and cooks. I haven't done a cooking video in ages, so this is going to be a real surprise to everybody. In fact, it's a surprise to me just because. Anyways, we're going to do a really old recipe from my family. It's one that my mom got from a friend of hers when she was teaching high school in Milwaukee back in the 1930s. So it's been around for quite a while. I have no idea who it originally came from, but like I say, it's been in our family since the 1930s, so it's quite old and well tested. It's one of my favorites. Basically, it's going to be, in the book she calls it a ham ring or a ham loaf. We always make it like a meatloaf, but we usually make a couple of smaller ones instead of the one real big one that my mom suggested. But we're going to make that quantity, and we'll just put it into a couple of different loaf pans to make smaller quantities for eating for multiple meals. One of these will get frozen. So it's the ham loaf, and we're going to do a brown sauce, which is basically a mustard sauce. So the first thing we got to do is have some ground ham, because ground ham is hard to come up with unless you grind your own. So what we're going to do is take the sausage grinder attachment to the Oster kitchen center thing and grind up the ham, and then we're going to add some pork sausage, and we'll start showing the details of that next. Okay, the first thing we have to do is get this ham steak into small enough chunks that we can grind it up. We've got two ham steaks. Yeah. Strips enough.
They just have to fit down the throat.
Okay, so you can see I just cut this into strips. Put them in there. I've got some more ham. This is some odds and ends pieces of ham. Just gonna cut it up, and in the case of this one, take the bone out of it and cut it off the bone. We'll leave the bone there. That might work if we were doing soup bones, but not for ground ham. Okay, so we've got about 2 pounds of ham, and we're going to start grinding it up. Okay, so you saw the quick switch there. What we need to do is we're going to, instead of using bread crumbs, commercial bread crumbs, we're going to take the heels of a couple loaves of bread and grind them up. They help to clean out the inside of the sausage grinder attachment a little bit, and it gives us the breadcrumbs we need. So there we are. We have a little over a cup of breadcrumbs, which is what we needed, and of course we've got a little over 2 pounds of ground ham. So let's go find the rest of the recipe and start putting that together. Okay, we'll start by taking the breadcrumbs, the cut, and just pouring it on top of the ham. And then we get 2 eggs, egg number 1, egg number 2. Go throw these pieces out. Ground ham, ground pork I mean. This we just picked up at the grocery store, just plain old ground pork. About 1 pound. So the ratio for the meats is 2 pounds of ground ham to 1 pound of ground pork. And finally, 1.5 cups of milk. just want to put on rubber gloves, I think, and start mushing. Okay, so I went and found some rubber gloves just because it's easier on my hands, and here's the nice messy, but fun if you like to play with your food part. I'm just going to mix this whole thing up, get it all incorporated. And we've got out one big loaf pan and a few small loaf pans. And like I say, what we normally do is make the smaller loaf pans, and they're usually about enough to have dinner for two. And we'll bake it all up and then freeze those. Then all we got to do is nuke them for the next time we want this recipe. So it looks just like meatloaf. That's what it is, meatloaf. It's just meatloaf made with ground ham and ground pork. Okay, the oven is up to temperature. We're at 350, and the meatloaf is going in. The recipe calls for an hour and a half of baking at 350. I suspect the little ones will take a lot less, and besides which it called for an hour and a half in a ring shape mold, and these are in meatloaf shape, so probably a little bit less time. All right, the meat is in the oven. It's baking away as it should be meatloaf. We're going to start on the brown sauce, which is really a mustard sauce. So the first thing I need to do is take 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar and 1 tablespoon of white flour and mix them up. So there you go, that's how I'm doing that. And then I'm just going to set this aside for a minute and put the other ingredients into the saucepan. Now I need 3/4 of a cup of water. Saucepan was already warm, I could hear that. 1/4 cup of, the recipe that my mom originally had was white vinegar. I've learned that I like it better with apple cider vinegar. 1/4 of a cup. Now I need a beef bouillon cube. Don't have any beef bouillon cubes, but I have some of this fantastic better than bouillon stuff. And that's about the equivalent of a cube. It's about a teaspoonful. Okay. Now I need 1/4 of a cup of prepared brown mustard. I'm going to use this Coop's stone ground mustard. There's my 1/4 cup measure. So let's see if we can't. Come on, squeeze. There's about a cup. And we'll just use this spoon to get it out of there again now. That goes into there. So we'll kind of stir this stuff around a little bit. And then we add the brown sugar and flour mixture. Give it another little stir. And we'll let this very slowly simmer while the meat sits in the oven. So for however long the meat's in the oven, probably about an hour, this will just simmer on the stove. I love this stuff. This is absolutely fantastic. And there's the sauce just kind of very slowly simmering away. It has thickened up just as I was hoping it would. It'll become almost like a gravy, but it's a sweet and sour mustardy gravy, which goes perfect on this ham loaf. So we're going to let that go. The ham is still baking. It's not quite ready to come out of the oven. And I'll show you what it looks like when I get a little bit farther along. Dinner is done. Is this thing invisible?
It's fine, we can see it.
It's a little bit falling apart. But I'm sure it'll taste good. There's the ham loaf, and I've also got some cauliflower au gratin and some barley. Just steamed and everything. The important part though is this wonderful brown sauce, which I'll just put on the ham loaf. Have a little taste. That is as I remember it. It's a delicious meal. Anyways, as I said, this is a very old recipe in my family. It's one that my mom got from a friend somewhere in the 1930s. I don't know what year exactly, but it's in the 1930s, because that's when she was teaching at Milwaukee West Division High School. So it's been in our family for about 70 or 80 years, and it's one of my favorites. It's delicious. I recommend it to you all. In fact, I'll probably even put the ingredients down there below me in the description on YouTube. So thanks a million for watching the video. If you're already a subscriber, again, I really do appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you like my videos, please subscribe. Thanks much. Bye bye.